My consuming interest in women's clothing began before I entered junior high school. I would look with curiosity at my female classmates as they began to develop. I would sometimes wonder about the clothes they wore, particularly the way they chose to dress in school. At home, I would often look through the catalogs that we regularly received, paying attention to the different clothing styles, from dresses to casual wear. I was fascinated by it all. While I would occasionally browse through my mother's wardrobe when she wasn't around, I always felt it was important to respect her personal belongings. I had an intense curiosity about the clothes, but I never fully acted on that curiosity, as I didn't want to disrespect her or overstep boundaries. Growing up in a single-parent household with my mother as the sole provider, it was sometimes hard to navigate my curiosity about women's fashion and how I related to it. Toward the end of the school year, I found myself increasingly drawn to certain aspects of the girls' fashion, particularly the way they styled themselves with skirts and dresses. As the new school year began, I realized that there would be many temptations for me. I was drawn to the styles and choices of the older high school girls, and being one of the younger students, I couldn't help but admire them. But I also began to recognize that my actions, sometimes trying to catch glimpses of their outfits in inappropriate ways, were not only disrespectful, but also problematic. One day, a situation occurred where I realized that my curiosity had led me to cross a boundary. I had been behaving in a way that was disrespectful to others, and I found myself facing the consequences of my actions. The school, along with my mother, was made aware of my behavior, and a discussion was had about how to guide me toward a more respectful understanding of others' boundaries. Rather than using any harsh punishment, the school took a different approach. They worked together to develop a plan that would help me understand the importance of respecting others' privacy and personal space. I was asked to reflect on my behavior and learn from it, with a focus on making better choices moving forward. I realized that my previous behavior had been immature and thoughtless, and that my curiosity should be handled in a more respectful manner. Moving forward, I was determined to make better decisions and to treat my classmates, particularly the girls, with the respect they deserved. The situation became increasingly awkward for me as I realized I was being treated in a way that felt uncomfortable. The girls began commenting on my appearance in a manner that made me feel self-conscious. I started to recognize that my behavior had been inappropriate, and I felt humiliated, but at the same time, I knew I needed to face the consequences. Mary, one of the girls, handed me a feminine item that she said I needed to properly take care of myself, as a way to learn about respecting others' space and behavior. At first, I didn't quite understand why she would be doing this for me, but it soon became clear that the girls were trying to teach me how to better respect personal boundaries and the consequences of my past actions. As the situation unfolded, the girls guided me through a new perspective. They told me that it was time for me to take responsibility and start learning what it means to respect others, including their personal space and privacy. I reluctantly agreed to follow their instructions, understanding that this was a lesson I needed to learn. They dressed me in gym clothes, and I was led into the gym for some physical activity, not only to challenge myself physically but also to reflect on the choices I had made. I found myself feeling vulnerable, not just from the physical exertion but from the reality of the situation. The girls continued to give me advice and support throughout the workout, reminding me that respect and self-discipline were key. Afterward, they told me it was time for a shower, and although I hesitated, I realized this was part of the process to cleanse not just my body, but my mind as well. As I showered, I reflected on my actions and how I had treated others poorly in the past. I realized that learning from my mistakes was the only way to move forward. When I stepped out of the shower, the girls helped me dry off and showed me how to take care of myself properly. It was uncomfortable, but I began to appreciate their guidance. One of the girls explained to me that there were consequences for my actions, but this was also an opportunity to learn from my behavior and grow as a person. Miss Harris, the teacher overseeing the situation, then gave me a choice. I could face a suspension or accept a different kind of punishment. She explained that the punishment would be a chance for me to learn the value of responsibility and respect. For the next 2 weeks, I would follow a special schedule that included learning about fashion and self-care as a way to better understand and appreciate the effort that goes into presenting oneself in a respectful manner. The schedule would involve assisting students in home economics with their projects and practicing skills like hairstyling, which would help me see the work involved in personal grooming and taking care of myself. I would also have to work on discipline by following a strict routine, including physical exercise and reflecting on my behavior. At the end of the day, I was to return to my regular clothes and go home, but I knew this experience would change me. I had learned that my past behavior was unacceptable, and I was determined to make better choices moving forward. Miss Harris gave me a few moments to reflect on the decision, while the girls quietly waited. Although the idea of being dressed in a different manner for 2 weeks seemed unusual, I realized it would be a better choice than being suspended. At least this way, I would be able to keep up with my schoolwork and not fall behind. I also acknowledged that, while there might be teasing from some of the boys, I could handle it as long as it meant I would have the chance to show I could change. After giving it some thought, I told Miss Harris that I would accept the terms she had laid out, rather than risk suspension. Miss Harris explained that, after the 2 weeks of my agreed-upon consequences, I would return to my regular life, assuming my behavior had improved. She made it clear that there would be no suspension or expulsion, as long as there were no repeats of the actions that led to this situation. I also learned that, although our school didn't have a formal dress code, I would be expected to wear something different during this period. I would wear a school uniform each day, comprising a plaid skirt, a white blouse, and appropriate undergarments, while learning about personal care, respect for others, and discipline. To help me with this transition, 2 of the girls, referred to as my mentors, would guide me, ensuring that I was dressed appropriately for school every day and would accompany me to and from school. This was not only to help me follow the rules, but also to teach me about the importance of making better choices. Mom had been informed and agreed to this plan. She would assist me by shopping for the clothing I needed, ensuring that I followed the guidelines set by Miss Harris and the school. When I stood in the middle of my mentors, I realized that I was being taught a valuable lesson. The girls showed me how to properly dress, explaining each piece of clothing and why it was part of learning to present myself with respect and dignity. They talked about the importance of personal care and how these actions would help me become more aware of the consequences of my past behavior. As they dressed me, I felt a mix of discomfort and understanding. They showed me how to put on the uniform correctly, making sure everything was neat and in place. Ellen helped me with the blouse and skirt, while Linda showed me how to adjust the fit to ensure everything was presentable. They also taught me the basics of maintaining my attire throughout the day, how to walk confidently in the uniform, and maintain a respectful appearance. Though I felt awkward at first, I began to appreciate the lessons they were imparting to me, realizing that dressing appropriately was part of learning responsibility and maturity. The whole process, while uncomfortable, was a reminder of how important it was to treat others with respect and to understand the impact of my actions. By the end of the experience, I felt a renewed sense of accountability and was committed to making better choices moving forward. When I finally showed that I could walk confidently in the heels, I was once again seated on the bench. Janet, one of the cosmetology students, approached me. With care and attention, she worked to style my hair into a neat and polished look. She added a simple white satin ribbon to keep everything in place. As she finished, she began applying some light makeup. At first, I felt a little hesitant, but I sat still as she applied foundation, powder, and some subtle eyeshadow. Janet reassured me that I didn't need much makeup since I was still young. She completed the look with a touch of pink lipstick and a light blush, which made me feel more refreshed and presentable. Once the makeup was done, Mary handed me a small purse and explained how to carry it properly. She also showed me how to hold my books in a more graceful way, which was part of the learning process. I felt a little awkward at first, but I knew this was part of the journey of self-discipline and understanding respect for myself and others. Before I left, Janet and Mary reminded me that I needed to maintain my composure and carry myself with dignity as I went about my day. They encouraged me to embrace the lessons I was learning and to focus on how I could grow from this experience. As we walked home, I felt the unfamiliar sensations of my attire and wondered how others would react. I was concerned about what Mom would think when she saw me, but I knew I was learning an important lesson about responsibility and self-awareness. We arrived at my doorstep, and Mom greeted us warmly. She looked at me for a moment, and I could see the mixture of emotions on her face, disappointment in my actions, but also a recognition that I was taking responsibility for them. Mom smiled and reached out to give me a hug. "You look nice," she said, though I could tell she was still processing the situation. She told me that if I continued to make better choices, I would grow into someone who carried themselves with confidence and grace. After the girls left, Mom and I sat down together at the table. She asked me about my experience, trying to understand how I was feeling. I hesitated for a moment, but then admitted that perhaps I was learning something about myself. I reflected on how my curiosity and actions had led me to this point, and how I needed to be more mindful of others' boundaries and respect. Mom nodded as I shared how I had often wondered about the things in her closet, but had never had the courage to express myself openly. She smiled and said she had noticed some signs, but she was glad I was now willing to talk about it. She explained that it was important to be honest with ourselves and others, and that growing up involved understanding who we were and what choices we wanted to make in life. As we sat there, I realized this experience had given me an opportunity to reflect, grow, and learn about boundaries, self-respect, and the importance of making thoughtful choices. After dinner, I helped Mom clean up the kitchen. She handed me a light pink apron to protect my clothes, and I didn't mind it at all. It was just part of the routine we had. Afterward, she helped me change out of my uniform, ensuring everything was neat and in order. She also showed me how to properly remove my makeup and take care of my skin, which felt like an important lesson in self-care. Later, back in my room, I changed into comfortable pajamas and got ready for bed. Mom tucked me in and kissed me goodnight. As she turned off the light, I reflected on everything that had happened that day and the lessons I had learned. The next morning, Mom woke me up earlier than usual. She explained that, with my new routine, it would take a little extra time to get ready. I showered and followed her instructions for using bath talc, getting dressed, and preparing for the day. Mom had already laid out my clothes and offered to help me get ready. I was slowly getting the hang of this new way of dressing. Mom helped me with my hair and makeup, teaching me how to apply things in a simple, natural way. I felt more confident as I went through each step, learning the importance of caring for myself and respecting the choices I made. After a quick breakfast, my mentors arrived to make sure I was ready for school. We walked to school together, and although I was nervous about facing my classmates, I told myself that I was learning to make better choices, no matter what others said. The day at school went by without too much trouble, though I did hear some teasing from a few of the boys. However, I reminded myself that I was making progress and learning to respect others' boundaries, even if they didn't always show me the same respect. In home economics class, I was asked to help with the students' projects by trying on some clothes they were working on. It felt a little awkward at first, but I understood that it was part of the learning process. I had the opportunity to wear a beautiful green satin gown, which made me feel both elegant and proud of how far I had come in understanding personal responsibility and respect for others. Later, I visited the beauty salon at school where the cosmetology students worked on styling my hair and giving me a manicure. I realized that learning how to take care of myself wasn't about appearance alone. It was about self-respect and the way we present ourselves to the world. Afterward, Miss Harris, my teacher, took a moment to remind me of the importance of behaving with respect, both for myself and others. When a few boys tried to make crude comments, Miss Harris stepped in, reinforcing the message that all students deserved respect. I felt grateful for her support and realized that respect and kindness were the most important things I could carry with me, no matter what others thought. At the end of the day, I changed into my gym clothes and focused on the exercise, which felt like another step in the right direction. I knew that there was still a lot to learn, but I was committed to making better choices and embracing the lessons life was offering me. As I left school, my mentors were there to walk me home. We talked about what had happened during the day, and I felt more confident than ever that I was on the right path toward becoming the person I wanted to be. The first week passed by quietly. Most of the boys had stopped teasing me, and I went through my daily routines without much trouble. At home, I helped Mom clean up after dinner, wearing a pink apron that she had given me for protection while cooking. I learned how to hand-wash delicate clothing and hang it up to dry properly. Each day, I was escorted to and from school by two of the girls who had been assigned to help guide me through this experience. In my home economics class, I continued to participate as a model for the students' projects, which gave me a new perspective on the hard work that goes into clothing and design. During the second class of the day, I was fitted with a dark green satin dress, while the students made adjustments to ensure it fit perfectly. I had never realized how much attention and care went into making clothes fit just right. After school, I went to the beauty salon where I received a manicure and a facial. The girls in the cosmetology program treated me with respect as they worked on my hair, and I learned about the different steps involved in personal grooming. By the end of the week, I had my hair styled with soft curls, which made me feel refreshed and new. One afternoon, Ellen approached me and mentioned a slumber party that was being held at Mary's house. At first, I wasn't sure if I should go. I worried that others might feel uncomfortable with me attending, even though I had been learning about self-respect and responsibility. Ellen reassured me that Mary's parents were aware of my situation and were supportive. They had even expressed that they were glad to have me join in. I was curious about what a slumber party entailed, and Ellen explained that it would be a fun night with movies, games, and spending time with friends. After discussing it with my mom, she supported the idea and helped me get ready for the evening. We picked out an outfit for me to wear, and she told me how nice my hair looked with the new curls. As I changed into the outfit, I realized that this was part of my journey to learn responsibility, to be mindful of my choices, and to embrace new experiences in a positive way. I met up with Ellen, and we walked together to Mary's house. As we chatted about my first week of learning and transformation, I realized how much I had already grown. I admitted to Ellen that, despite the awkward start, I had come to enjoy the changes in my life. I liked the new clothes and the opportunity to explore a different side of myself. Ellen shared that she had noticed a positive change in me as well. She appreciated how much more thoughtful and responsible I had become compared to the way I acted in the past. I smiled and thanked her, feeling grateful for her support. When we arrived at Mary's house, I was introduced to her parents, who welcomed me warmly. They told me how glad they were to have me join the evening, and it made me feel accepted and comfortable. We spent the night together, enjoying each other's company and learning more about ourselves and each other. The first week went by quietly, and I gradually adjusted to the routine. Mom and I continued to work together, and I helped her clean up after dinner. I learned how to take better care of my clothes and how to clean and organize things in a more responsible way. My new schedule also included being escorted to and from school each day by two of my classmates, who helped me stay on track. In home economics class, I continued to serve as a model for students, which gave me the chance to appreciate the work and attention that goes into creating clothing. In the second class, I was asked to wear a dress while the students made adjustments. I was surprised at how much effort went into creating the perfect fit, and I realized the importance of paying attention to detail. After school, I went to the beauty salon for a manicure and a facial, which helped me learn how to take care of my skin and grooming. It was an interesting experience, and I started to appreciate the value of personal care. By the end of the week, I had my hair styled in soft curls, which made me feel more confident in my appearance. One afternoon, Ellen invited me to a slumber party at Mary's house. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea at first, but Ellen assured me that Mary's parents were aware of the situation and were supportive. I decided to go, thinking it would be a good opportunity to bond with the girls and experience a fun evening with friends. At the slumber party, we watched movies, talked about school, and did each other's hair and nails. The girls made me feel welcome, and we all had a good time. I realized that the experience was about more than just clothing or appearance. It was about building friendships and learning how to be a supportive and caring friend. The next day, Ellen and I went shopping for some clothes. I was excited to try on different styles and see how they fit. As we walked through the mall, I learned more about the importance of expressing myself through my clothing choices, while still being true to who I was. The girls were kind and helped me pick out clothes that were both comfortable and stylish. When we returned to Mary's house, I felt grateful for the kindness and understanding the girls had shown me. Ellen and I talked about the day, and I shared how much I had learned about myself. I realized that the changes I was going through were helping me grow into a more thoughtful and respectful person, and I was grateful for the opportunity to learn from my experiences. After a quiet Sunday with Mom, I began my second week of school with a renewed sense of purpose. On Monday, I felt more comfortable in my new routine. My classes were going well, and I was adjusting to the changes in my life. On Tuesday, after all my classes, I went to the gym for physical education. As I walked in, I saw a few of my classmates dressed in their cheerleading uniforms, preparing for practice. Amy, the head cheerleader, asked me to join in, offering me a uniform to wear for the day. I was excited to be included and appreciated the opportunity to be part of the team. The experience helped me feel more confident and connected with the others. Throughout this experience, I learned that personal growth isn't just about appearance or outward changes. It's about learning to respect myself and others, making better choices, and embracing the lessons life has to offer. I realized that I was capable of growing and changing, and that I had the power to shape my future. Amy handed me my pom-poms and led me out to the field with the other girls. I was introduced to them as Jennifer, a special student at the school. Amy gave me a quick course on the cheers and how to lead them. She assured me that if I didn't know a cheer or routine, I could just shake my pom-poms and follow along. I was nervous, but determined to do my best, and Amy flashed a radiant smile, telling me she knew I would do great. Throughout the afternoon, I followed the other girls as we led cheers. As I jumped and moved around, I realized how much I was enjoying being part of the team. Despite feeling a little out of place, I managed to keep up with the others and had fun. Afterward, Amy gave me a hug and said that I had done a great job, even though it was my first time. I thanked her for the compliment and felt proud of myself. Rather than change into my regular clothes, I asked if I could wear my cheerleading uniform home. Amy agreed, and she and Joy would be my big sisters for the day, helping me get home. Joy had my school uniform in a plastic garment bag, ready for when I needed to change. She smiled and told me she had watched me during the game and thought I had done really well, especially since I was new to all of it. At home, Mom greeted me with a big smile and told me I looked great in my cheerleading uniform. I blushed a little, feeling a bit shy, but I let her hug me. After I took off the uniform and hung it up, I was tempted to keep it in my room for a little while as a reminder of the fun day. Mom agreed, saying it was okay as long as I returned it soon. The rest of the week passed quickly. I had settled into my new routine, and while I was looking forward to the end of the week, I also realized that I had learned a lot during my time as Jennifer. I dressed and met my big sisters for our last walk to school together. The morning classes passed by, and in the second home economics class, I tried on a beautiful dark green satin gown for the final touches. Mrs. Thompson, the home economics teacher, told me that I would look great in the gown at the upcoming dance. I was surprised but excited. As I stood there in the gown, Linda came into the room and told me that it was, indeed, my gown for the dance. She explained that everyone had helped prepare for this moment, from the dress to the accessories. It took a moment for everything to sink in, and when it did, I was filled with gratitude. I thanked everyone for making this special event happen. After class, Linda took me to the beauty salon, where Janet was waiting to style my hair. She carefully washed and conditioned my hair, then set it in rollers. While I was under the dryer, she worked on my nails and did a beautiful job with a classic red polish. Janet then did my makeup in shades of red, coordinating everything from my blush to my lipstick. When she finished, I looked in the mirror and couldn't believe how much I had transformed. I felt more confident and excited for the evening ahead. Later that day, Ellen and I went to Mary's house to get ready. When I arrived, the other girls were already there, helping each other with their outfits and getting excited for the dance. Mary handed me a bag with my new lingerie and helped me get dressed. I changed into a green satin slip and completed the look with matching accessories. As I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized how much I had grown and learned. The girls treated me with kindness and respect, and I felt accepted and included. When I returned to the family room, everyone admired how I looked, and Ellen helped me with my heels. I was a bit nervous about dancing, especially in high heels, but Joy patiently showed me how to move and gave me tips on dancing to slow music. By the time we headed to the dance, I was feeling confident and ready to enjoy the evening. The dance was a lot of fun, and I had a great time spending time with my friends and making new memories. As the night ended, I realized how far I had come in this journey and how much I had learned about self-expression, responsibility, and the value of friendship. As we were getting ready for the dance, I suddenly realized I hadn't been told who my date would be. I looked around and asked the group, wondering if I would even have a date at all. Martha quickly spoke up and explained that her twin brother, Roger, would be my date for the evening. I asked if he knew about me, and she reassured me that he did. Roger had been struggling with his own understanding of his identity, but he agreed to accompany me to the dance. Martha explained that Roger didn't feel comfortable dating girls, but was happy to help me out as a way to support me, and it would allow him to attend the dance without feeling pressured. The girls were all dressed in beautiful gowns, each one unique in its own way. Some wore gowns similar to mine, with a fitted bodice and flowing skirts, while others chose more form-fitting styles. Everyone looked stunning, and we were all excited to celebrate the evening. The boys had rented a stretch limo, and when they arrived, it was a flurry of excitement as each girl received a corsage. Roger gave me a wrist corsage and told me I looked beautiful. I was grateful for his kindness and assistance, especially when I had no experience with things like corsages. Ellen showed me how to wear it properly, making sure it looked perfect. The night flew by in a whirlwind of laughter and dancing. Roger was a perfect gentleman throughout the evening. He was respectful, patient, and made me feel comfortable. In the limo, he sat next to me and casually put his arm around my shoulder, just like the other couples. On the dance floor, I felt at ease, and Roger guided me gracefully through the dances. He held doors open for me, helped me with my chair, and made sure I was always comfortable. I couldn't have asked for a better date. When we returned to Mary's house, Roger escorted me to the door and gave me a light kiss on the cheek, something that made me feel both special and cherished. I walked inside, feeling like I was floating. My big sisters playfully teased me about my first kiss, but I just smiled, happy and content. After taking off my heels and resting my feet, we all gathered in our sleepwear for another slumber party. We talked about the evening and reflected on my time as Jennifer. I apologized to the girls for the way I had behaved before and admitted that what started as a form of discipline had turned into one of the best experiences of my life. I even shared how much I would miss Jennifer's identity, but how much I had learned from this time. Ellen, speaking on behalf of the group, told me that they had all seen positive changes in me and how I treated others, especially the girls. She suggested that, if I wanted, they could talk to Miss Harris, the principal, and my mom about possibly continuing Jennifer's journey. I was overwhelmed with emotion, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for their support and for giving me the chance to express myself in such a meaningful way. I thanked each of the girls personally, giving them a hug and thanking them for their support and for making me feel like I was truly Jennifer. It felt like I had found a place where I belonged, where I could grow and learn. Amy then spoke up, saying that if Jennifer stayed, they could definitely use me as a cheerleader, and I looked forward to continuing that journey with Amy and the other girls.